Welcome back. We are now at lesson 4 from the Measures of Central Tendency unit, and today we're going to be calculating the mode. So let's read what it starts with. The number or numbers that appear the most in a set of data is called the mode. And an easy trick to remember is that mode and most both start with the same two letters. Let's continue. We find the mode by looking for the number that we see most frequently. If two or more numbers appear with the same frequency, which means the same number of times, all of them are modes. Sometimes a data set has no mode. So we can have no mode, one mode, and several modes. It is helpful, but not necessary, to put the data in order from least to greatest first, particularly if the data set is large. So when we did the last lesson, the median, we had to put the data from least to greatest first. That was a very important step. We do not have to do that when dealing with a mode, but it is really helpful because we can immediately see how many times, we can see the frequency with which we see a number. The other thing I want to discuss is no mode. If we don't have a mode, we don't use the number 0 because that would imply that the number 0 is what we see the most. So we're going to actually have to write no mode. So let's get started and see what we can do. It says use a set of data from example A, which we've seen before, to find the mode of the quiz scores. Be sure to show your work. So in this case, I'm going to show my work by putting the numbers in order. So we're going to start, and again, I prefer to check numbers off as I go to make sure I've accounted for all of them. I see the smallest number 3, and there's another 3. Followed by 1, 2, 3, 5. So 1 5, 2 5s, 3 5s. And then I see 2 6s. And finally I see 2 7s. So counting how many numbers I wrote, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I want to make sure that I have 9 quiz scores. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's always the step that I do to make sure I haven't missed any number, because that would unfortunately throw off the fact, no matter what I'm finding the median mode mean, it would throw off the answer if I didn't account for every number. So based on this, I see 2 3s, 2 6s, and 2 7s. Now, if there are 2 5s, I could say that there are several modes, but in this case, the number that I see the most is 5. There are 3 5s, and the other numbers are just listed twice. So the mode in this set of data is the number 5. So let's see what we can do with the next example. Using the data sets below, show your work and calculate the mode. Remember, some data sets have no mode, just one mode, like our last example, or more than one mode. If you see a number with the same frequency as another number, maybe it's 2 or 3 numbers, you can write those 3 numbers as the mode. So let's look at our data set. The smallest number I see is 4. Let's go back to the pen. 4.6. Followed by 6.3. And then 7.8. And you can stop at this point and continue, and then we'll reconvene. All right. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers, and sure enough, the data is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So we've accounted for everything. As I scan the data, I can see that there's not one number that's repeated. They're all shown one time and one time only. So this is a case where there's no mode. In a few moments, I'd like you to take the quiz that's associated with this on data set B, C, and D. But before we do, I'd like you to look at the very last statement on the second page. So would you please turn to the next page? Down at the bottom of the second page for lesson 4, we see a little paragraph. So let's read through that together. This says, finally, some data sets contain in blank. An outlier is a number or data item that is very different from the rest of the data items. In certain situations, we choose not to include the outlier in our calculations because an outlier skews the results when trying to find the center of the data. So the word we're looking for is outlier. And I've heard one or two teachers refer to this as an outlaw. If you think about it being an outlaw, it's not like the others. And it would be a number or a piece of data that's included in a set that's very different from the rest. So let's refer back to data set B on this same page. So if you move this, if you move this paper down, or to the top rather, if you look at this, we have, if I scan this data, most of the numbers I see are in 200s, and then I see a couple that are 100s, but they're high 100s, 200s again, but this number right here is different from the rest of the numbers. In fact, it's about 250 or 60 more than the rest of the numbers, at least. In fact, even though these two are not in the 200s, they're in the high 100s. So the range between the numbers besides 500 would be from 183 to 239. So that's about a distance of roughly 50 or so. So in this case, 500 would be considered an outlier. It would certainly impact the range. It would not impact the mode, and it would not impact necessarily the median. So the biggest one it would impact would be the mean. If I tried to find the center of the data, that number would skew the data. So later on, if we have a chance to get back to this lesson, we'll probably delve into this more. If you would pause this or stop this video now and go ahead and complete B, C, and D, and then take the associated quiz with this lesson. And we'll see you for our last lesson, lesson 5, shortly.